one of the coolest things for me to see on my mission was the way that the Lord would, I don't know, like place everyone. So it was just like everything just worked out perfectly, like how it should have been. I don't know, like I know there maybe could have been other possibilities, but just like afterwards when you realize it, you're like, God definitely led us there, even though I didn't know it. I remember it happened multiple times, but there's just one time that sticks out in my memory that we just been trying to contact this one investigator for a very long time, and we didn't know whether or not to like continue teaching him or to like continue trying to stop by his house. And we were just like in a completely different part of our area, and we're just like walking up one of the roads, and here comes that one investigator that's just like crossing our path. Like, we could have gone like so many, like, because it's like a block system or a grid system, we could have gone like so many different ways to where we were planning on going. But of course we were walking down that one road right when our investigator was walking down that one road. And we just like stopped and talked to him for a little while, and after talking with him a little bit, we could tell that we should probably stop visiting him, just because the way that he was like telling us, I don't have like a lot of time, and he was kind of getting disinterested. And we tried to set an appointment, he wouldn't really let us. And even though like that experience didn't turn out in a baptism, it just stood out in my mind that the Lord just placed us where we needed to be at the certain times. That, especially in the city, because there's so many people, that when you run into someone that you know, I feel like it's just like one in a million that you happen to go the same way that person was, and they happen to go to the grocery store at that one time, or whatever they were doing, and I don't know. And so with that specific investigator, that was like one of the first times that it happened to me, but it just happened over the course of the mission where, I don't know, there's like another time where we like went to knock on an investigator's door, she wasn't there, and so we stopped in the car, and then me and my companion couldn't decide where we wanted to go. And we ended up talking for like 5 minutes, just talking. Like normally we would just like drive off and decide or something like that. But for some reason that time we just stayed in the car and we were just like talking, like, well, where should we go? Like, and then here comes our investigator, like walking up, like the walk up to her house. And then we were able to teach her. And it was just like little things like that. And then I think once I started seeing them and looking for them, then I saw them a lot more. Just how the Lord just always places you where you need to be. And especially when I wrote them down at the end of the night. And something that I started doing like a few months into my mission, my companion shared like a lesson during district meeting about gratitude, and how the way we can show our gratitude is by like recording the blessings that God gives us. And so something that I tried to do every day on my mission was write a little bit about what happened, and then just one blessing that I saw from God that day. Anyway, like when you're in that mindset, you just see those things so much more frequently, and even though the results aren't what you wanted them, I feel like I had the comfort knowing that I was where God wanted me to be, and that then it was that point, that person's agency, whether they chose to accept or to discontinue meeting with us. And then there was another experience when I was in the Bronx. We were meeting with a single mother. Her son was like 2 years old. And she had a date for baptism in about 2 weeks. And this was the baptism where I got transferred right before her baptism. But she had missed church, and so we'd called her and said like, oh, like what's up? Because she had like interacted with the church in her country, and when she came over, she was just going through a hard time, so she was looking online for scriptures, and then in Googling scripture, she just found Mormon.org, and then got on Mormon.org, started chatting with the missionaries through Mormon.org, and they referred her to us. And so so she kind of like referred herself to us, like she was looking for the church. And so from the very beginning, she was very willing to do the things that like read the scriptures and go to church. And so when she missed church that day, we just felt like something was up, and so we called her, and we decided to go visit her. And then when we went over, she just shared with us a lot of things that had happened in her past that were just weighing her down. And a lot of them were just tragic stories of just how other people had harmed her in her past. And And I'd heard a lot of sad stories on my mission, but that one was just completely overwhelming, and it was because we had come to love her so much because we had been visiting her. And at the point she finally opened up some things that were just really just weighing on her soul. That in listening to it and quick exchanges with my companion, I knew that neither of us knew what we needed to say. We were just like, I've never ever met anyone that's shared that with me before. How in the world do I react to that in a positive way? And I just remember, I don't even remember what we were saying, but I just remember words were coming out of our mouths, and then we ended up giving her a priesthood blessing. But just in the moment, I knew that was when, that we weren't necessarily the most qualified individuals to be missionaries. Like, we're not psychologists, we're not counselors, we're not life coaches, but that in applying the principles of the gospel and in teaching the pure principles of the gospel, that's how, I mean, just initially, but those things help us to work into our individual circumstances, and then that God just works through his servants to help his children. And so it was just very cool. It was almost like an out-of-body experience where I was like, I was there, but I wasn't mentally choosing or doing anything. It was just like I was like praying so hard, like, just let us say the right things, and then the right scriptures came out, and she just felt so much better. I mean, she had a long road of like healing to go through, but just like that kind of set her off course from going down into depression and closing off away from the things that were helping her to turning around and going for healing and trying to apply the atonement to her life. And so that was just a very cool experience for me to see how the Lord worked through simple 20-year-old guys to just help people that have very, very real problems, and then help them to overcome them so that they can accept his gospel.